the two trees?
Yeah.
Definitely leaned up in there.
Yeah.
See stumps where they could have come from.
Yeah. Looks like there's some kind of a trail going down through here.
Yeah.
Couple. Looks like there might have been a step there and a step there, maybe, but
Certainly
again,
does.
too inconclusive. So.
It's 5 feet apart. Definitely place there.
Yeah, it's not natural, that's for sure.
No stumps that could have come from.
Doesn't that look like it? Not close anyways. Now here's the stump this came from. This one came from a stump right there, but it's been moved over. And it looks like it was anchored by this other stick here. This is the stump that would have come from. The other one no sign of a sump. We also have this cross piece here that looks like it anchored it in place. The bigger question here is the tree falls, usually fall, which in this case would have had a fairly clear view,
Right.
depending on how long ago this was, you know, it might have been something like that if it was gone. But how did it go from there to there?
Exactly.
And why is it jammed under that cross piece?
Yeah.
That's the question we have to ask.
And this other one over here is jammed under a cross piece too. So.
Yeah, that one, the only thing I can think of is that is the rest of it, and somewhere's up in there we'll find the stump in it.
Yeah, possible.
That's the only thing I can think of. Other than that, I'm gonna label that one as a good potential.
Cool.
Not positive, but it's a good potential. This other one,
Yeah, definitely that's the stump.
yeah.
Because there's the long piece that
Yeah.
was there.
yeah. Then we have to ask why didn't it fall following its natural course.
Right. You can see.
get my camera here so we can let everybody else know what we're looking at. If you follow up the trunk there, you can see where it's lodged right up in there. So that's kind of a natural thing. You know, but again, not conclusive. So, well, it's nice to be able to say, yes, it's a sign, but reality is,
I doubt it.
yeah, we can't say that it is, and I'm not going to accept it as a sign.
It's questionable.
Yep. The other one, though, the other one that we looked at is a definite probability, because of the fact that there is no stump near it. We can't tell for certain without analysis if that other piece and the other piece is going up there is part of the same stump or not. That's a little too coincidental for me.
Side by each, like
now,
that.
we've already established that there's what appears to be a trail going down through there.
Yeah.
If you're coming up over the rise back here, if you're looking for some kind of sign, where you have that cookie shape,
Yeah.
with a trail going right underneath it and heading up the river.
Definitely plausible.
Yeah, it's a potential. Again, no proof, but
Well, it's like anything in this field, we're not going to have conclusive proof to satisfy everyone.
Welcome to another episode of Bigfoot Tales. I'm your host, D.L.Soucy. D.L.Soucy, as most people know me by. And today I'm taking a second look at this teepee structure that we found some time ago on an earlier visit to this area, hunting for spot sign. I've noticed something interesting over the last few years about these stick structures, and I've actually found certain ones that finally allowed me to fully develop a idea as to what some of these structures may be. There's a lot of them in the woods, and by far the bulk of them are natural falls, but there are some out there that may signify something much more important to us.
okay, here's where my little gauge comes into play.
Using a framing gauge, I measured the angle of the bases of the structures, and in this structure, both legs of the structure equaled to 45 degrees each. And there were some interesting other aspects that you'll pick up on as we go through this video, but one of the things I want to stress here is that it's very important that you take a lot of photographic evidence of the things that you find, so that you can compare many different items to see if what you're looking at is consistent. Random examples of tree falls and bends and all kinds of different things don't actually prove anything. They might suggest something, but the only way that you're going to be able to develop an empirical evidence file is to document them by taking pictures. Hearsay doesn't work in the scientific community. You have to have repeated observations that can be verified to back up what your hypothesis that you're presenting rather is to the public. In this particular sample of evidence, we have actually three poles or legs of this teepee-shaped structure, forming potentially two different triangles. The one on the right measures 45 degrees. There are two on the left. The front one, which actually, if you'll notice, frames that pathway through the trees, measures 45. The one behind it, which is taller, actually measured 60 degrees. The one on the left and the one on the right were both anchored, so to speak, by cross pieces at the base. The other one, the 60-degree leg, had no anchor at its base. So I'm going to present the idea that that's actually part of the puzzle.
But you have two at 45 degrees that we thought were part of the teepee.
Mm-hmm.
And a third one which could be part of a teepee, but we didn't think it was 60 degrees.
Well, and in line with the next marker too, you know, I mean,
Right.
I don't have all that much doubt left in me what's up here.
Yeah. Now,
in the distance there, I'm sure you can see the X-shaped structure on the game trail that's going straight ahead.
can you see it?
I'm going to present the hypothesis here that that is something that was placed to signify that this game trail was not to be used, but another one. And so we had to figure out exactly which direction we were supposed to go. And we had found another, what we call a reverse teepee, or an inverted triangle, down at another location closer to the river. And that was at a special angle here. But we'll get down to that, and then we'll discuss some more angles, and fully present my hypothesis at that time.
Although if you're in here and you're looking at a 45-degree angle, we're roughly right in the center, 45 degrees. Look what I see.
Yeah,
Does it look like an X to you?
sure does.
Just over the rise, you'll see another X, the very top of one, and that is at a 45-degree angle. If you follow that as a line of travel to the plane of this teepee,
It's over the rise.
and the exit line of travel
And I'm
from
guessing
this,
that if we go down to where
plane
that
of
X
this
is,
teepee, to the
and
next
we look
structure
45
that we
degrees
were
to the
aware
other,
of
so we're gonna come
is
to
at
where
60
I saw that
degrees,
cross
which
piece
is
in that other video.
Quite likely.
kind of odd, and you'll see in a few minutes there exactly why it's odd and why
Definitely
I believe it's
visible.
part of a pattern.
So we have a potential conundrum here. We have a bunch of different degrees. We got a teepee that's made at 45 degrees. You look at 45 degrees that way, you see an X. You look at 45 degrees this way, you don't see anything to speak of. That would look like it would be sign. And it does look like a trail width
Mm-hmm.
type opening down in between there. So now let's go down to that other one and check and see if those dimensions are the same.
The next structure in the trail that we're going to be looking at is actually an inverted teepee, or an upside down structure, where the legs of the triangle are upside down and go away from each other. The angle of the base of each of these legs was determined to be about 60 degrees. The angle of travel to the plane of this structure coming into it was 60 degrees. The angle of travel coming out of this to the next structure that we're going to be seeing in a few minutes is 45 degrees. kind of interesting. You have two structures. One of them, the base was at 45 degrees. The next one, the base was at 60 degrees. And the angle of travel into and out of each of them was a combination of 45 degrees and 60 degrees.
So it's a 60 degree.
We determined at this time that the left-hand leg was at a 60 degree angle. The right-hand one was actually about 80 degrees, but we had determined from the way the soil looked underneath that it was actually originally much closer to the other one, which would have lent to a 60 degree angle. It would have been sharper, but as this was kind of a downhill, as the bottom of the trunk rotted away, it slid to the right, closer to the river, and increased that angle of splay.
So that one doesn't bear out the norm. The two angles are different.
It's pretty obvious, though.
Yeah. It's possible that they were originally both 60. One of them shifted. I'm going to guess that they were either both 60 or both 85, and one of them shifted is the only thing I could think of that might fall into that, because that looks like it slid down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty loose. Well, that's just supposition at this point. Yeah, that would be about a 60 degree.
And we determined again that the angle of travel into and out of the plane or the flat of this inverted triangle structure was again 60 and 45 degrees. So we have two different structures where we have angle of travel in at 45 and 60 degrees, and we have the angles of the bases of these two structures also at 45 and 60 degrees, which I'm gonna suggest at this point in time is a rather bit too coincidental to be of a wholly natural event by trees just happening to fall where willy-nilly through the woods. I'm going to suggest, although I have no proof at this time, that quite likely these trees or limbs or trunks were purposely placed in the spaces that they are for the purpose of directing somebody along a specific line of travel.
That'll be damned. 60 degrees. I think we may be on to something.
Well, it's the kind of thing we just keep track of.
45 degrees and 60 degrees.
Wait for the patterns to emerge.
Yeah.
We certainly have a footing for it. We'll see where it goes from there.
The end of this trail that we followed today, for all intents and purposes, actually ended. There were 2 trees that framed a pathway that led to a log that had been placed over a brook. And the angle of travel into these 2 trees from that last inverted teepee structure was actually 90 degrees. And these were 2 natural trees, but the log that you'll be seeing here that goes across the brook was actually not there at the beginning of March. I'm not really sure where it came from. I looked around, I couldn't find any trunks that it would have come from, and so it's kind of strange. Here, looking at the 2D dimensions of it here, it doesn't look that big, but you'll see when you have the pictures or images of me going down there to further document it and look for any possible tracks. You'll see that it's actually fairly good sized. My suggestion here is that it was placed so that something could walk across that brook and not leave any tracks in the mud. The ground on both banks was pretty firm, but the brook itself was much too wide and much too soft for anything to cross it without leaving any tracks. Now, points to ponder and questions to ask here is we have to ask, do Bigfoot make these structures as gateways along a particular route near populated spaces, possibly to avoid detection, rather? And if so, do they deliberately lay them out at 45 and 60 degree angles of travel on purpose, as well as having the legs of the triangles at 45 and 60 degrees? Or is it purely accidental, purely an act of nature? Do these things just simply fall at these angles? Or is it intentional and placed there by somebody else? And do they place these cross markers at the base of these structures to signify these as guideposts, as compared to other possible teepees and leans, as some people call them, to signify the difference between them, that these are the actual ones that need to be followed to mark out the trail. So we have several different things here. angles of travels being 60 and 45 degrees from the planes of the triangles, and the bases of the triangles being at 45 and 60 degrees. In my opinion, for what it's worth, this just simply does not seem to be purely accidental or an act of nature. I find it hard to believe that in this approximately mile or so worth of travel, that there would be so many random events happen, that there were this many that were identical in nature, almost to the exact measurement.
Yeah. And of course he could have crossed onto the other one and come up this trail, you know. You see this old beaver trail runs right up here. Could have walked right down that one and come onto that bank easily enough.
Now, I want to caution you here at this point that while the evidence I presented here is incredibly compelling and looks like it might be absolute proof that these structures were installed by an intelligent being that had a plan in mind, it doesn't constitute proof in any way, shape, or form. It just leads to a very strong suggestion leading towards that proof. For it to be considered proof, it has to be observed over and over again, many times. So my request and suggestion here is that as you're out looking at these structures in the woods, that you begin to document with plenty of pictorial evidence and audio evidence where these structures exist that you come across, what the angles of the bases are, the angles of travel in and out of these to the next ones, to see if in fact the structures that were placed here do indeed indicate that they are road markers on the Bigfoot interstate as it goes across this nation and continent, as our furry friend of the woods travels from point A to point B. We need to determine if in fact this is a correct hypothesis here, and whether indeed these structures are, or some structures are, intended to be markers, as opposed to just simple accidental or random things that were assembled. And that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed the video and maybe learned something about Bigfootery. And we'll see you next time on Bigfoot Tales. And don't forget to comment, rate, and subscribe.